The soldiers thought her defeated. One step through the gate proved them wrong. Smoke drifted lazily over the shattered city, curling like ghostly fingers through the broken streets. The alien soldiers walked carefully, their heavy boots crunching against twisted metal and debris. Everywhere they looked, there was evidence of human defeat. Buildings were flattened, vehicles lay abandoned, fires burned in places that had once been homes. Captain Rao led his squad through the ruins, scanning every corner with his eyes narrowed. "The human commander is gone," he said, his voice steady though his mind carried a hint of satisfaction. "We have won. Their resistance is finished." His soldiers murmured agreements. They had fought for weeks, pushing human forces back from planet to planet, and now it seemed this city was the final prize. Reports from scouts said the human leader, Elara, had been struck down in a direct assault on the main command center. Her fleet was shattered, her army scattered. Victory seemed complete. Rao felt a strange tension in the air. It was faint, almost imperceptible, but it made him uneasy. The air hummed with energy, a vibration that seemed to pass through the ground beneath his boots. His soldiers noticed nothing. They were eager for the victory parade, for the glory of conquest. Only Rao paused, feeling that something was not right. Beneath the city, far from the eyes of the alien soldiers, a single figure moved in silence. Elara had survived the attack that everyone believed had destroyed her. Her body was bruised and battered, but her mind was sharper than ever. Pain ran through her limbs, but she ignored it. Survival was her first thought. Strategy, her second. She crouched in a hidden chamber beneath what had once been the main command center. The walls were cracked, the lights flickering, but she could see the alien gate clearly. It was enormous, a portal of alien technology that shimmered with energy. This gate had been their advantage, separating her from the rest of her forces and cutting off escape routes. But now, she realized, it could be her weapon too. Elara examined the gate carefully. She remembered the attack, the precise strikes, the overwhelming firepower, the moment when everything had seemed lost, and then the thought came, sudden and bold, one step. One step through that gate, and I could change everything. She had spent weeks studying alien designs, understanding the energy flows, the control systems. Humans were slower than aliens in technology, yes, but faster in adaptability. Aliens relied on brute force and logic. Humans thrived in unpredictability. This was her advantage. She could turn their own machines against them. Meanwhile, on the streets above, Ral's squad moved cautiously. Smoke and dust limited visibility, but they trusted their scanners. Everything seemed normal. The city was empty. No resistance. Nothing to worry about. "Keep moving," Ral ordered. "We will sweep the city and report the end of the human threat." As they advanced, small things began to feel off. Shadows moved where there should have been none. Strange, almost imperceptible patterns of light flickered across broken walls. Ral paused, frowning. "Hold up, something's not right." One of the soldiers, a young recruit named Tilo, laughed nervously. "Sir, it's just the fire and smoke. Nothing alive down here." Ral did not respond. He had learned to trust his instincts in battle, and right now, every instinct screamed caution. Back in her chamber, Elara prepared herself. Her body ached, but she could focus on the task ahead. She had crafted a simple cloaking device using parts salvaged from her destroyed ships and bits of alien tech she had scavenged. It would hide her energy signature from scanners, making her invisible to the alien soldiers above. She checked the device one last time. Power levels were low but sufficient. Every wire, every circuit, every component had to function perfectly. One mistake could mean death. She took a deep breath. Pain, exhaustion, and fear pressed against her mind, but she pushed them aside. Focus was all that mattered. Then she stepped toward the gate. The hum of alien energy grew louder, a low vibration that resonated in her chest. She could feel the raw power of the portal, the incredible technology that had cut off her army and almost ended her life. Yet, she did not fear it. Instead, she felt determination, a fire that had never died. The first step was the hardest. Her boots clicked against the smooth surface of the gate platform, the sound echoing faintly in the cavernous chamber. Her body tensed, ready for any sudden attack. Then the second step, and the hum intensified. She felt the energy wash over her, but she remained steady.
Above, Ral's squad paused. Sensors flickered for a moment, registering a faint anomaly.
Then it vanished. Ral frowned, pointing to the readings. "Did anyone else see that?" "No, sir," Tilo replied. "Everything looks normal to me." Ral shook his head. Something was wrong, but he could not place it. The air felt alive. The city itself seemed to breathe as if it were watching them. Elara moved closer to the center of the portal. Every step was calculated, precise. Her heart pounded, but not with fear. It was excitement, the thrill of turning the tide when everyone thought she was finished. Her cloaking device worked perfectly. She became invisible to sensors, invisible to eyes. The soldiers above continued their patrols, unaware that she was moving freely beneath them. Every human in hiding across the city was counting on her, and she could feel their hope through the network of signals she had set up before the attack. Raoul's doubts grew. He could feel the tension in the air, the faint vibrations that seemed to follow the soldiers wherever they went. He glanced at the horizon. Smoke and fire obscured the sun, casting long, sharp shadows. His stomach tightened. He could not explain why, but something was coming. Something unexpected. Elara reached the center of the gate. She paused, her hand hovering above the controls. She could feel the alien energy coursing around her, alive and dangerous. One misstep, and she could be obliterated. But she had survived worse. Humans were not meant to give up. Not ever. She adjusted the settings, preparing the portal for her movement. Her mind worked quickly, calculating the effects, anticipating the reactions of the alien army. This was not just survival, it was strategy. Every detail mattered. Above, Raoul and his soldiers continued to advance, unaware that their victory was about to be challenged in a way they had never imagined. Every step they took through the ruined city was a step toward surprise, toward the unknown. Elara took a deep breath and prepared for the final move. One step through the gate, one step into the world above, would prove everything. Humanity had been underestimated, and she would show them the cost of that mistake. She moved forward. The hum of the portal grew louder, filling her ears, resonating through her body. Her hand touched the control panel. The energy pulsed around her, but she stood firm. She was ready. Raoul paused once more, sensing something shift in the air. The faint hum of energy that had been almost imperceptible was now stronger. His soldiers stopped and looked around, confused. Something was wrong. Elara's first step out of the gate was complete. The world above, filled with alien soldiers who thought her defeated, was about to witness the impossible. And for the first time in weeks, the city felt alive again. Not with destruction, but with the spirit of survival, ingenuity, and defiance. Raoul clenched his fists. He could not see her, could not detect her, but he could feel it. Something was moving. Something human. Something that would not be stopped. Elara's presence was a whisper, a shadow, a promise. One step through the gate had begun a chain of events that would challenge everything the aliens believed. And the soldiers who thought victory was theirs would soon learn that defeat was not yet written. The city above was quiet, almost too quiet. Smoke drifted through broken windows, and fire still burned in random pockets of rubble. Captain Rahl's soldiers continued their patrols, confident that the human threat was gone. They marched in formation, their boots echoing through the empty streets, each step reinforcing their belief that victory was complete. Rahl's eyes scanned the horizon again. Something gnawed at him. The air felt alive, tense, as though the city itself were holding its breath. He could not explain it, but every instinct told him that the humans were not finished. He was right. Beneath the city, Elara moved silently, invisible to the alien sensors thanks to her cloaking device. She had stepped through the alien gate and now stood in the network of hidden tunnels and chambers that humans had once used as command posts. Her body was battered, but her mind was sharper than ever. Elara had no time to rest. The aliens had control of the streets above, but they were unprepared for the human mind. She studied the alien communications network, understanding how the soldiers were connected to their command hubs. Each alien soldier received direct instructions, every action calculated and ordered. Their technology was advanced, yes, but it relied heavily on patterns and logic. Humans thrived on unpredictability. She smiled faintly. That unpredictability was her weapon. Elara tapped into a control terminal using a small interface she had cobbled together from alien circuits and human ingenuity. The screen lit up with alien commands showing troop movements, patrol patterns, and sensor ranges. She traced paths of the soldiers, predicting their next moves. The aliens thought they were in control, but their systems would now work against them. Above ground, Rahl's soldiers continued their patrols, unaware that their sensors had been subtly compromised. Signals flickered for just a moment, then returned to normal. They saw nothing, heard nothing, and yet a faint unease settled over them. "Sir," Tilo said nervously, "the sensors, they're acting strange." Rahl frowned. checking his own device. Strange how. They blink, sometimes disappear, then come back. Ral shook his head. Check again. It's probably interference from the smoke. But deep inside, he knew it was more than interference. Something was happening, something he could not yet understand. Alara moved through the tunnels, planning small devices she had prepared earlier. Each device created subtle disruptions in the alien systems, confusing communications, misdirecting patrols, and feeding false readings into scanners. The soldiers above walked into these traps without realizing it. One squad turned left when their system said the right path was clear. Another advanced too far, only to find a collapsed bridge blocking their way. Alara watched the patterns on her interface, a quiet satisfaction in her chest. The humans had been pushed to the edge, but they were rising again, and she was the spark. As she moved closer to the city center, she paused to observe a group of alien soldiers advancing through the streets above. They carried heavy weapons, their formation perfect. They were confident, unaware that every step they took was leading them into confusion. Alara adjusted a device on the wall. A small pulse ran through the network, sending false commands to the soldiers. One of them turned sharply, barking orders that made no sense. Confused, the others paused, trying to interpret the conflicting instructions. Ral noticed immediately. "What is happening?" he shouted. His voice carried a rare note of fear. "It must be a glitch," one of the soldiers said. Ral shook his head, frustration building. "No, it's deliberate. Someone is manipulating the system." For the first time, doubt crept into his mind. Humans were supposed to be defeated. They were supposed to be scattered and helpless, and yet something was moving against him, something intelligent and careful. Meanwhile, Alara moved from shadow to shadow, her cloaking device keeping her hidden. She felt the adrenaline in her veins, not from fear, but from the thrill of control. Every move she made above ground, every disruption, every signal she altered, weakened the alien army's confidence. She paused at the entrance to a large plaza. The alien command tower loomed above, its sleek metal surface reflecting the light of fires below. This was the heart of their control. If she could reach it, the entire battle could shift in humanity's favor. Ral's squad approached the plaza cautiously. Sensors flickered again and the soldiers exchanged uneasy glances. Something was off, though they could not see it. Alara observed them. Their movements were predictable now, thanks to her careful manipulations. She smiled to herself, thinking about how humans had been underestimated for so long. The aliens relied on strength and logic, but humans had creativity, adaptability, and courage. Those traits were invisible, yet more powerful than any weapon. She tapped a command on her device, sending a false report to the alien command. One squad was instructed to take a detour, another to hold position, and another to regroup. Confusion spread quickly. Soldiers argued, shouted, and hesitated. Ral clenched his fists. His eyes narrowed. He realized that something human was responsible, something he could not see. Alara advanced, carefully navigating the maze of streets and collapsed buildings. Each step brought her closer to the tower. She paused occasionally, listening to the distant sounds of soldiers moving above, feeling the tension rising. Then she heard it. A commotion from one of the streets ahead. A group of soldiers had been misdirected and trapped in a collapsed building. Their radios crackled with panic. "Report," he demanded. They're stuck," one of his soldiers stammered. "It's impossible." They were following orders. Ral's mind raced. The patterns were wrong. The systems were wrong. His confidence was shaken. For the first time, he felt fear. Not of death, but of being outsmarted by something he had believed defeated. Alara paused behind a wall, observing the chaos she had created. It was small, subtle, but it was enough to shift the momentum. Humans above ground, hidden and resilient, were beginning to move. They had been waiting, watching, preparing for this moment. She took a deep breath, feeling the weight of responsibility. Every human life in the city depended on her. One mistake could doom them all. Yet her determination was stronger than the fear. She had survived worse, adapted faster, and now she would lead the turning point. Ral gathered his squad, trying to restore order. "Form up. Do not let confusion spread." But it was too late. Humans had already begun their counterattacks. Small teams struck suddenly from hidden positions, sabotaging alien equipment, creating diversions, and rescuing trapped civilians. Every move was calculated, precise, and unexpected. The aliens had no strategy to counter unpredictable human ingenuity. Alara watched, impressed with the bravery of her fellow humans. Their courage fueled her, strengthened her resolve. She could see the fear in the alien soldier's eyes now, a fear born not from violence, but from unpredictability. As she moved closer to the tower, her plan became clearer. She would not attack directly. Instead, she would manipulate the alien systems from within, sowing chaos and confusion until the entire command structure collapsed. Humans would rise, and the aliens would learn that strength alone was not enough to defeat them. Raoul's fear grew. Every step he took seemed wrong, every order ignored or misinterpreted. The soldiers who had once marched with confidence were now hesitant, second-guessing every move. He realized with a sinking feeling that they had underestimated humans. Alara reached the edge of the plaza, just within range of the command tower's systems. She paused, activating her device. Signals pulsed through the alien network, causing patrols to reroute, communications to fail, and soldiers to question orders. Confusion spread like wildfire.
Above, the plaza erupted in minor chaos. Soldiers shouted, gestured, and scrambled to understand what was happening.
Raoul barked orders, but the network he relied on was compromised. Panic flickered in his eyes. Humans had turned the tide with cleverness, not weapons. Alara stepped forward, ready for the next stage. The tower loomed above, powerful but vulnerable. One human, clever, determined, and resilient, was now a force the aliens could not ignore. She paused briefly, feeling the energy of the city, the hope of hidden humans, and the thrill of the unexpected. One step at a time, she had begun to prove that humans, thought defeated, were far stronger than anyone had imagined. The soldiers above, believing victory was theirs, were about to face a truth they could not anticipate. Humans had risen, and Alara was leading the charge. The city, once silent and defeated, now thrummed with life and movement. The aliens had not expected resistance, but humans had never been predictable, and the war was far from over. The city was no longer silent. The faint hum of alien machinery was now drowned by chaos. Fires lit the ruins with flickering orange light, and smoke curled into the sky like dark ribbons. Captain Rao's soldiers moved through the streets cautiously, but confusion reigned. Orders conflicted with one another. Sensors blinked unpredictably. Units that had been marching in perfect formation moments before now argued over the next steps.
Raoul clenched his fists. He had trained for this.
He had fought battles across galaxies, but nothing had prepared him for the precision and unpredictability of the humans. One human, one thought, one step had changed everything. Below ground, Alara moved through the tunnels like a shadow. The sounds of chaos above were music to her ears. Every device she had planted, every signal she had altered, every strategy she had prepared was working. Humans hidden across the city were rising. Civilians and soldiers who had been trapped, terrified, and silent were now striking. Their courage, long buried under fear and despair, now flowed like wildfire. Alara paused at a junction and looked up at the alien command tower. The building loomed above like a metal giant, imposing and unyielding. The aliens believed it was invincible. They believed it controlled every soldier, every weapon, every plan. They were wrong. Humans were unpredictable. Humans were clever. And humans had Alara. She activated another device, sending false instructions to the alien units above. One squad was rerouted into a ruined building. Another was instructed to hold position in a street that had collapsed. Confusion spread faster than fire. Raoul's voice rose above the shouting, "Hold formation! Do not let them escape." But the soldiers could not follow orders they could not trust. Every sensor, every signal, every command seemed corrupted. The aliens began to fight themselves rather than their true enemy. From the shadows, humans emerged. Small teams, organized and quick, struck at the alien supply lines. Explosions rocked the streets, but they were precise, controlled, and non-lethal to civilians. The humans were using the aliens' own rules against them. Strategy over strength, cleverness over brute force. Raoul's frustration boiled over. "Where are they coming from?" he shouted. Alara watched from a safe distance. The thrill of seeing humans rise was almost overwhelming. She knew the aliens were strong physically, but strength alone could not overcome courage, adaptability, and intelligence. The soldiers who had thought humans were weak were now discovering the opposite. A small human team disabled the communications tower near the city center. Signals flickered and died. Alien soldiers looked at each other, bewildered. "We have no orders!" one shouted. Raoul's eyes narrowed. "They're coordinating! Humans are coordinating!" It was true. Across the city, humans were moving in synchrony, guided by Alara's devices, her signals, and her strategy. The city became a chessboard, with humans moving pieces to trap the aliens without direct confrontation. Elara climbed a side passage toward the tower. Her heart pounded with excitement and determination. This was the moment she had prepared for. Every human life in the city depended on her success, and she would not fail. Above, alien soldiers attempted to regain control, but every attempt was met with resistance. Some human, some mechanical, all unexpected. One unit, trying to flank, was trapped in a collapsed street. Another, attempting to regroup, was forced to retreat by a team of humans hiding on rooftops. Raoul's mind raced. Every plan he had, every tactic he knew, was being undone by humans who were, by all logical measures, inferior. And yet they were winning. He realized something profound. Strength alone did not guarantee victory. Strategy, courage, and intelligence could overcome even the most powerful forces. Elara reached the base of the tower. Her eyes scanned the system's interface at the entrance. This was the heart of alien control, the command center that directed their army. She paused briefly to take in the enormity of what she was about to do. The systems were complex, but she understood their logic. She had learned it in the moments she had been hiding, in the times she had been thinking while wounded and underestimated. With careful hands, she activated a control sequence that began to reroute power from the tower. Alien weapon systems faltered, shields flickered, and automated patrols stopped in their tracks. Confusion spread like a storm, touching every alien unit in the city. Raoul shouted again, but his voice was drowned by the disarray. Soldiers turned on each other, unsure of orders, unable to communicate. The once confident army was now fragmented, a reflection of their failure to anticipate the unpredictable resilience of humans. From the rooftops, human snipers took positions, targeting key alien systems and vehicles. Civilians moved safely through hidden paths, guided by signals from Elara's devices. The humans were not merely fighting. They were reclaiming, protecting, and proving their strength. Elara entered the tower's control hub. She felt the weight of responsibility pressing down, but it did not break her. Humans had survived impossible odds before. They had thrived in chaos, adapted to danger, and found courage in moments of fear. Now, she would show the aliens why humans were never to be underestimated. She initiated the final stage of her plan. Energy from the tower was redirected, disabling key alien weaponry and infrastructure across the city. Signals pulsed through the network, confusing units, rerouting patrols, and causing alien squads to collide in the streets. Their own systems, once a source of strength, now worked against them. Raoul finally saw her, silhouetted against the glowing interfaces. "It can't be," he whispered, disbelief shaking his voice. Elara turned toward him, steady and confident. Her presence was calm, commanding, and undeniably human. "It can," she said softly, "and it is." The soldiers froze. Their captain's orders were meaningless without functioning systems. Alien morale faltered. Confusion became panic. The humans above and below ground moved with precision, striking only when necessary, reclaiming streets, securing civilians, and avoiding unnecessary casualties. Raoul realized the depth of their mistake. They had thought humans weak, easy to defeat. But humans were unpredictable, adaptable, and fearless. One human, leading quietly, had turned an entire city into a force against them. Their calculations had failed because they had not accounted for courage, ingenuity, and resilience. Elara moved to the main control panel and began transmitting a signal to the remaining human teams across the city. Instructions, coordinated movements, and safe paths flowed through the network. Humans moved with confidence now, guided by strategy and intelligence. Above, alien soldiers tried to regroup, but every action was met with disruption. Patrols collided, communications failed, and systems misfired. One unit fired on another by mistake, chaos spreading rapidly. The aliens who had believed in their inevitable victory now realized that they were losing control. Raoul watched as humans reclaimed key points in the city. He felt anger, frustration, and fear, all mingling in a tight knot inside him. He had trained his entire life for conquest, but he had not trained for humans who fought with cleverness and courage. Elara stepped onto a balcony overlooking the plaza. Below, humans moved with purpose, reclaiming the streets, guiding civilians, and striking only where necessary. The alien soldiers were trapped by their own rules, their own reliance on systems that had been turned against them. She smiled faintly. This was the turning point. Humans had risen from the edge of defeat, inspired not by weapons but by leadership, courage, and intelligence. One step through the gate had proven that humans could not be underestimated. Raoul's voice trembled as he issued orders that could not be followed. "Regroup! Fall back! Protect the tower." It was too late. The humans, united by strategy and determination, moved faster, smarter, and more courageously than the aliens could counter. The tide had turned. The city was alive with hope, defiance, and human ingenuity. Elara watched the chaos unfold, knowing the next moments would define the future of this battle. The aliens had been strong, organized, and confident, but humans had heart, courage, and intelligence beyond expectation. And with that combination, victory was no longer a question of strength. It was inevitable. The city, once silent, once thought lost, now thrummed with energy. The humans had taken the first major step in reclaiming their home. The aliens had underestimated them, and they were paying the price. Alara's eyes met Ral's from across the plaza. The alien commander's expression was a mixture of disbelief and fear. One human thought defeated had not only survived but had led an entire uprising. The soldiers who had believed victory was theirs would soon understand the true cost of underestimating humanity. And above all, Alara knew one truth. This was just the beginning. Humans would not stop. They would not give up. And when they fought with strategy, courage, and intelligence, no force in the galaxy could contain them. The city pulsed with life, movement, and determination. Humans had risen. Aliens had faltered. And one step through the gate had proven the impossible. The city was alive with movement. Fires burned, smoke twisted into the sky, and the air vibrated with energy. An energy born not from alien machines, but from human courage. The streets, once silent and empty, now teemed with humans reclaiming their homes and streets. Civilians and soldiers moved together, guided by signals from Alara and her network of devices. Every action was precise, every move coordinated. Humans were proving that even in the face of overwhelming power, cleverness and courage could triumph. Captain Rawls stood at the edge of the plaza, staring in disbelief. His soldiers were scattered, confused, and trapped by their own systems. Every attempt at regrouping ended in chaos. Some units collided with each other, others followed false orders. The alien army, once confident and disciplined, had become fragmented. Fear and uncertainty replaced pride and control. Ral clenched his fists. He had fought for years, commanding countless battles, but he had never seen an enemy so unpredictable, so resilient, so clever. Humans, these fragile, underestimated creatures, were rising like a storm. Alara moved swiftly through the control tower. Her cloaking device concealed her presence from the few remaining functioning sensors. She paused at a terminal that controlled the city's central alien defense grid. Her fingers danced over the interface, rerouting energy, shutting down weapon systems, and opening escape routes for civilians. Every decision was calculated. Every action mattered. From the rooftops, humans watched the streets below. Teams moved like shadows, disabling alien vehicles, sabotaging weapons, and guiding trapped civilians to safety. They were not reckless. They were precise, adaptive, and fearless. The aliens had been caught off guard by unpredictability. Humans were using strategy instead of strength, intelligence instead of brute force. Ral's voice trembled as he barked orders that no one could follow. "Hold position! Protect the tower! Fall back! Do not let them reach the command center!" The soldiers tried, but every step they took was undermined by Alara's interference. Patrols became trapped in debris, communication lines failed, and automated weapons misfired. Confusion spread faster than fire. The alien army, the force that had once seemed unstoppable, was crumbling. Alara activated the final stage of her plan. The alien portal network, which had once cut off human forces and seemed untouchable, was now under her control. She redirected its energy to isolate alien units, preventing reinforcements from reaching the plaza. The aliens had thought the portals were their ultimate weapon. They were about to learn that humans could turn it against them. From the streets, humans emerged with confidence. Small groups struck in unison, disabling alien defenses, guiding civilians, and reclaiming key positions. Every move was calculated. Every step showcased human ingenuity. Ral watched helplessly as humans systematically dismantled the control tower's defenses. His soldiers hesitated, unsure whether to obey orders or flee. Conflicting commands caused them to argue, waste time, and ultimately retreat. Morale shattered. The alien army was losing not because of brute force, but because they had underestimated human intelligence and courage. Alara moved to the main console of the control tower. Whoa! Her fingers flew over the alien interface, initiating sequences that would secure the city and disable the aliens' offensive capability. Power shifted, weapon systems shut down, and surveillance arrays went dark. Humans moved freely now, reclaiming the plaza and streets without threat. Above, Ral's soldiers attempted a last desperate push, but it was too late. Humans had anticipated every move. The streets became a labyrinth of obstacles, traps, and diversions, all set to protect civilians and dismantle alien control. Every squad that advanced found itself isolated, unable to communicate, and vulnerable to targeted counterattacks from hidden human teams. Ral's frustration boiled over. He realized he had underestimated humans. They were clever, adaptive, and fearless. Strength alone could not defeat them. One human, Ilara, had changed the entire battlefield with intelligence, strategy, and courage. Ilara paused for a moment to survey the city. The human forces were organized, effective, and confident. Civilians were safe, alien patrols were trapped or disoriented, and the city was gradually returning to human control. One step through the gate had ignited this uprising. One human had proved that victory was not determined by size or technology alone, but by resilience, courage, and ingenuity. Ral's voice rose again in frustration, now tinged with disbelief. "Regroup! Form a perimeter!" But it was too late. The aliens could no longer coordinate. Humans had turned every advantage the aliens possessed into a weakness. Vehicles were disabled, weapon systems were offline. Soldiers were disoriented. Even the command tower, the symbol of alien power, was compromised. From her vantage point, Ilara issued the final command through her network. Human teams moved to secure the last alien positions, ensuring that civilians remained unharmed while the enemy's infrastructure collapsed. The humans were no longer just defending. They were reclaiming. Ral realized the battle was lost. His soldiers hesitated, some fleeing, some surrendering, others frozen in confusion. Humans had proven something the aliens had ignored for centuries, that courage, intelligence, and unity could overcome any force. Ilara descended to the plaza. Her presence was calm, commanding, and undeniable. Humans cheered as they saw her, their leader moving confidently among them. The soldiers who had once doubted survival now drew strength from her courage. Ral met her gaze across the plaza, fear and disbelief reflected in his eyes. He had thought the humans defeated. He had counted on their weakness, but now he saw the truth. One human, thought vanquished, had not only survived, but had led an entire city in rebellion against overwhelming power. Ilara stepped forward, speaking clearly so all humans could hear. "This city is ours. You believed us weak. You believed us defeated. But humans endure. Humans adapt. Humans survive. And we rise when you least expect it." Her words carried across the plaza, instilling courage in those who had once been afraid and shaking the confidence of the alien soldiers. Every human felt stronger. Every alien felt the weight of their underestimation. The remaining alien soldiers scattered, realizing that their control had been broken. Their technology, once a symbol of dominance, had been turned against them. The city was lost not to brute force, but to intelligence, strategy, and the unyielding spirit of humans. Ilara moved to the center of the plaza, standing tall among humans who had survived the battle. They had reclaimed their city, protected their civilians, and proven that even when outnumbered and outgunned, humanity could prevail. Ral's voice was quiet now. How is this possible?" Ilara looked at him, her eyes steady. "Strength alone is not enough. You forgot the most important force in the galaxy. Human courage, intelligence, and determination. Never underestimate it again." The alien commander, defeated not by weapons but by ingenuity and bravery, turned and fled with the few remaining soldiers. The city, once silent and broken, now pulsed with life and hope. Humans celebrated not only their victory but their resilience, their unity, and their courage. Ilara watched as the first rays of dawn pierced the smoke-filled sky. The city was scarred, but alive. Survivors emerged from hiding, helping one another, reclaiming their homes, and securing the streets. Humans had proven that even in the darkest hour they could rise, adapt, and overcome. One step through the gate had changed everything. One human had reminded the galaxy that victory was never guaranteed, and strength alone could never measure courage. The city now belonged to humans. Their resilience had turned defeat into triumph. Their ingenuity had outsmarted the strongest army they had faced, and their courage had inspired every person, soldier, and survivor to rise. Ilara smiled faintly, looking across the city she had saved. She knew this was only the beginning. Humans had reclaimed their home today, but the lesson extended far beyond this battlefield. Across the galaxy, anyone who underestimated humans would learn the same truth. Humans were not just survivors. Humans were leaders, thinkers, fighters, and pioneers. They adapted, they endured, and they inspired. One step through the gate had proven it. The city thrummed with life, with hope, and with human spirit. The fires of fear that had once burned bright in the aliens' minds were extinguished by courage, intelligence, and resilience. Humans had risen. Humans had prevailed. And above it all, Alara stood tall, proof that even when the odds were impossible, humanity could rise stronger than ever.